So this video and this channel is all about an ongoing incident that's happened between basically my family and a combination of Hyman Borough Council, Lancashire County Council, and some agents that they have contracted. So basically collection agencies that they've contracted to work on their behalf. So just to give you the context of it, I'm going to produce a few videos, but just to start off with, in this first one, the context of the situation. It's related to a parking charge notice that basically happened to me whilst I was parked in a blue badge parking space, and the notice was for failure to display a blue badge in a designated parking space. Now, the facts of the matter were, yes, I was the one driving the car, and yes, I failed to display a blue badge on the occasion. I've not contested that. I've quite happily been open about that. I'm not the blue badge holder. It was actually my disabled mother who I'd taken out for lunch on that day. It was just outside of a cafe. It's a spot that we tend to park in pretty regularly. I won't say every week, but very commonly we park there. Obviously use the blue badge because of my mother's lack of mobility, and it's never been problematic before. On this occasion, between us, I take responsibility. We failed to display the blue badge, and when we came out from the cafe, there was a traffic warden, parking attendant, whatever we call them these days, who was just finishing off the process of issuing a ticket on the car. I've got to say at this point that the parking warden was actually polite, he was courteous, and as helpful as possible. I did have a chat with him. We did have the blue badge. It was in the car, literally. It was in the glove compartment of the car or the side pocket of the door, I don't just remember, and literally just forgot to put it on the dashboard of the car. We explained this to him, we showed him the badge, just to clarify that we weren't just taking advantage of the parking space. It did say that because the ticket's issued electronically and he'd already done the stuff on his PDA, on his computer thing, that there's nothing that he could do about it. But it was very sympathetic towards the situation, having obviously seen us. And I fully understand that his hands were tied. There was nothing that he could have done once he's issued it, even if he wanted to. And I'm not suggesting he did want to, but even if he did want to, he would have been unable to rescind it or issue it. So with the circumstances of the situation, as I said, I had a conversation with him, and he suggested to me that my best course of action would be to wait for the letter to come through, as well as the sticker you get on the car. There's a letter that comes through to you, is what he said. And I said, will that come through to me? And he said, well, it'll come through to whoever the car is registered to, I think, which is actually my father. It's not registered to me. And then he said at that point, then just write back to them, explain that it was myself who was responsible, and explain the situation with the blue badge, and send them photocopies or scans from the printer of the blue badge back to them, explaining to what's just happened. And as far as he was concerned, the likelihood was that they would overturn it. Although I obviously didn't guarantee that, because he's not in a position to do that. That's the advice that he was given, and so we went away basically following that advice. As I say, no complaint with the guy. He was just doing his job. Fully respect what he was doing, because as I've explained, we do normally. This is the first time it's happened that we haven't used a blue badge, and it's a very useful thing to have for anyone that uses the blue badges, to be able to have access to convenient parking. So I fully support the traffic warden's actions in enforcing these bays, generally speaking, because it's not the right thing to do to park in these things unless you've got the blue badge, unless you're allowed to park in them. So no problem with the guy whatsoever. As I say, it was totally I didn't get his name because it just didn't seem relevant at the time. It was a very cordial, very polite sort of discussion, and it couldn't have been more helpful. It wasn't one of these sort of arrogant sort of jobs with type guys that you sometimes see. So you know, on the day there was no issue with him. The problems started afterwards. I will go into details on different videos. I'll make a series about the different things that have gone on since, but as you might imagine, if you watch this far, after following his advice and responding to the initial letter with the explanation and the evidence of the blue badges, the council weren't interested in listening to the explanation, either of the fact that we had the blue badges or of the fact that I identified myself as the person, driver, operator of the vehicle on the day, because all the correspondence has been subsequently addressed to my father, who is basically 78 years old and not particularly good health, and you know, basically it's not really right that he should be receiving that type of correspondence and this type of behaviour directed towards him, when I've clearly written, in fact I composed a letter from the pair of us and we countersigned it. That was the first thing that was said, to explain that I take responsibility. Please direct the correspondence to me and I will deal with it. So that was, you know, that was on the first correspondence that we sent to them. As I say, it's gone on a lot further from there. The council have been completely, I'm careful what I say, but they've not been helpful. They've not been accommodating in any way, shape or form in terms of communication. Some of the information and that they're sending correspondence, and I'm going to share the correspondence in as much as I can, and I've also got some CCTV that I'm going to share when I can, but as I'll explain as it goes on, at the moment the police are involved with the situation as well, so I'm going to be a little bit wary of what I do share until such time it becomes suitable to do so, because I don't want to compromise anything that might be useful to them forensically. But in the fullness of time, all the correspondence will be shared so that you can see. The reason I've decided to put it on a video and indeed to make a channel all about it is because when it started going a little bit wrong, and when it became apparent that the council and their associates were behaving in this way, I'm not a legal person. My dad's not a legal person, so obviously we took as much advice as we could. Some of that was looking on the internet about you know, what our rights are in these situations, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole scenario really. The more that I looked into it, predominantly I've been doing the looking into it, the more that you see that there's quite a common theme of councils behaving in this way. Not just our council, which happens to be Lancashire County Council, but it seems to be a fairly common practice across a lot of councils from what I've seen on the internet, and even worse so across these other agencies, one of whom is an enforcement agency. This particular one is called CDER, or CDER, I think is the way they write it. And there's also reference to a court document as well, which when I've looked into that doesn't quite look as it seems. It doesn't appear to be, from what I can see, a bona fide court, and from the research I've done, it's described as one of these administrative bulk processing centres that have allegedly sort of become involved somehow in this process. So as I say, because of my own research, I've seen a lot of other videos that people have done, and a lot of them have been really helpful for me to be able to sort of see the other experiences and also learn information that might be useful for myself. So the reason I've decided to put this up, as well as to, obviously, initially to publicise the behaviour of Lancashire County Council and their associates, is also if there's anything that's useful from my case scenario to other people, then that's going to be really great as well, because as other people have shared and it's been useful to me, I want to be able to share whatever the outcome of this is. I don't know yet, it's still in progress, but whatever the outcome is, I want to be able to share and people can see what's happened. You know, if I've acted right or acted wrong, happy for people to comment and you know, add your own sort of opinions to it. Any advice would be very, very welcome. And you know, if you think that I've done a course of action that's not right, I should have done something else, that'd be really welcome as well. So please feel free to get in touch on the comments or in DM. I'll post more and more to add to the story as it goes along, and we'll have to wait and see what the outcome of it is. But at the moment, unfortunately, as I say, my elderly and unwell father is continuing to be harassed, literally harassed, by the council, who will not acknowledge the fact that he's got nothing to do with it, and as a result of that, by this enforcement agency, CDER, who have actually visited my dad's home on 2 occasions, hence the fact I've got the CCTV. On one occasion I was there. Unfortunately, on the second occasion I wasn't there, but they didn't gain access on either occasion. On the first occasion they attempted to actually take control of a vehicle, which, as far as I can see, the attempt was unlawful, and that is evidenced by the fact that the enforcement agent had to come back pretty quickly and remove a wheel clamp that he put on it after actually did his checks. Luckily I've been able to find some information and take some advice, and again I'll detail this in more detail, but by the fact that he came back and had to remove it, he's tacitly admitting the fact that what he did in the first place was incorrect, and he'd not done his proper checks and homework first in his due diligence. So, as I say, I don't know the schedule for posting stuff. I'll try and get stuff up as soon as I can, and I'm with some worry of not putting any evidence up before such time the police may or may not have wished to use it for whatever they need to do with the complaints that we've made to them about this. But we shall see how it goes, and I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching.